when they get these articles of clothing in the mail and they go to put them on and look in the mirror and they see that it doesn't look like how it did on the model, they begin to shame themselves anymore. And I believe the fashion world is really set up to shame women. And so
Oh, I do.
I'm my business really is all about this movement of helping women to rise together and leveraging fashion and how they're physically showing up and embodying the woman that they're designed to be, not trying to embody someone else's who they're supposed to be. Oftentimes, what I see is when the woman does that and she puts it on and she says to herself, well, I guess this is good as it's going to get. And she settles for this mediocrity in her life, but she doesn't accept mediocrity anywhere else. And so it's holding her back by what is she telling herself? Putting these articles of clothing on her body that are nylon, that are itchy, and she doesn't feel good. What does that do for how you're showing up in the world, how you're showing up for clients even?
Right.
And, but what women are maybe not knowing is that there's something better. So really with how I am working with, all the entrepreneurial women, women in business that are like trying to up level, I'm really holding that space with them to imagine for them what they can't imagine for themselves. And it's so cool. It is like this lights me up so much. I'm sure you can feel my energy right now.
Oh, yeah, I can.
What lights me up more than anything is when that moment that they see it.
Welcome back to the Dana Grant Show, where we are just heart-centered here on the behind the stories of businesses, and you're gonna love who's in the house today. Jessica Papineau is in the room, and she is gonna help us with our style, our self-image, our energy, collapsing time. You're gonna wanna hear that. Collapsing time, that's right, and she's gonna tell us how to do it in the fashion world. So, welcome, and Jessica, it's so happy to see you. She's one of my favorite people.
Oh, I'm
Oh.
so happy to be here, Dana. You have no idea. And as you know, I'm coming off a mastermind retreat and
Wow.
unstoppable with Amberly. And so I am so like my vibration is high
Oh,
today.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, you were just, like, powering it's a powerhouse year for you.
It is a powerhouse year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the last 6 years have been very powerful.
I love that. I love it. So,
Mhm.
starting right there, why do you think fashion has given you this momentous momentum right now? I mean, you've always loved fashion, haven't you? Or maybe
I've
start
always
there.
loved
Yeah.
I've always loved fashion, and I think the reason why I've been as successful as I've been and had the ability to, serve entrepreneurial women in the deepest way is because of how I've lived my life with the knowing of the gifts that I have, and it really has been, I would say, not even a year, where I have really, I guess we can call it forgiveness of
Mm.
the, kind of roadblocks I had in my life and things that happened with my family. I now see the traumas and different things that I went through as a gift because it's allowed me to step into my full power, but also use fashion as a tool to help other women to fully step into the woman that they're designed to be in their full power and embody it. Claim it and embody it.
So let's go back a little bit. You said to forgive and your family and the story. I know a little bit about it, and I think it's worth sharing.
Yeah, I'll try to
Yeah.
keep it tight here because my story is really long.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna lead with how I grew up. Because a lot of people would not expect what I'm about to say based upon looking at me maybe on social media or how they see me out in the world. Because you look at me now and you probably think, oh, she's always, had it all, or she's
Yeah.
always,
Nice.
done all the things, or, been, born into a world maybe of fashion and things, but
Mhm.
not at all. So I grew up literally in the backwoods of Maine. And what I mean by that is my family, they were hippies and they wanted to live off the grid. So we did. We had no running water. We had a hand pump. We had no electricity. We used
Mhm.
kerosene lanterns. And later, 12-volt batteries to run these little lights, and it wasn't very bright. We had an outhouse. Our food source was the garden that we grew the fruits and vegetables in, and then in the fall it was harvested and canned, and that was our food source for the winter. I mean, there were some other things supplemented with some co-ops and things that my family did, but really, I learned at a young age that I felt like I didn't belong there. Like
Mm.
I felt like, "Who are these people I was born into?" Because my love from a very young age was fashion. And so, you can only imagine my family wasn't taking me to the mall and getting me clothes. My mom would actually shop at the Salvation Army, get me clothes from Salvation Army, and I remember from the age of, like, 3 and 4 years old, and at that time, I was an only child, and I would go in my closet and I would pull out all these articles of clothing from Salvation Army, and I would create these beautiful outfits with them and look in the mirror and pretend that I was anywhere but where I was. And the reason why I had this creativity is because there was no television. And at that age, I couldn't read. So I listened to the radio and I would listen to children's stories on the radio, and I would close my eyes, and I would see it like almost like visions in front of me, and I could see almost like a TV screen of what it looked like. And so then when I was making these outfits and I was looking in the mirror, I saw myself in all these places, and I would talk to my mirror
Mm.
with the outfits on, and I would feel like I belonged and I'd feel included in something, and I'd pretend I was at all these different fun places, dancing and being at parties, and but I learned about, I don't know, I think I was age 4, my dad came into my, bedroom one day, and my parents had always encouraged me, like, "Come outside, stop with being in front of the mirror, why are you doing this?"
Why are you doing this?
And and my dad came in one day and he said, "We have mom and I have warned you." And
Mm.
he came in, he had a padlock, and he went to put it on my closet so that I couldn't get in there during the day. And I threw myself on the floor and I cried, "Daddy, please, no, don't do this to me."
Mhm.
And he didn't end up putting the padlock on there. However, I remember that moment like it was yesterday, because that was the moment that I learned that my gift and what I truly loved
Mm.
was not accepted by those that loved me and that I loved. And so I began to feel shame around it. And so I would hide it. And I thought, I would say up until like 30, 35, I thought I was a superficial person because I loved fashion. And when I grew up, at 16, I had the ability, I had an opportunity to move to Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, because my parents had split up. My dad moved to Winnipeg to live with his mother. He was Canadian. And there was a lot of trauma in my childhood with my dad. My dad was an abusive man and he was abusive to my mom. And I did know this. However, he had never like done anything really terrible to me. So I decided I was going to leave this tiny town, Buckfield, Maine, and move to the big city of Winnipeg because there was running water there. I could have a shower, I could blow dry my hair, I could put my makeup on, and I could go to a mall and I could get a job in retail. That's what I wanted.
And for those of you that are listening, I mean, think about what we take it, for granted every day. Running
Yeah.
water, indoor toiletry, all the things. I mean, we're talking back 18th century that people have just taken this for granted, and you have such a remarkable story. And I think I just had to have you share this. And did
Yeah.
you get the job in retail?
I okay. So I get there and that was really, really hard. That's the
Yeah.
first time that I really took action and did something that scared
Mm,
me, but I wanted something bigger for my life.
mm,
And I put on my black skirt suit, nylons, black pumps,
mhm.
and I got on a city bus, actually 2 city buses I had to take, and I had never been on a bus before, and I'm not the greatest with directions, so I was nervous.
Oh, yeah.
And I get to the furthest mall in the city, it was the big mall, and I had only been in Winnipeg for about a week because this was my goal. This was exactly why I was there. That was my intention. And so I get in the mall and I'm handing my resume that I had typed on this old typewriter. And I handed it out to all these stores, these clothing stores that, oh my gosh, they were beautiful. And I saw like designer clothes that I hadn't seen before. And I was just in awe. And I was handing out my resume and asking to meet with the manager, and I was getting shot down. They were all saying, "No, we're not
Mm,
hiring," once they looked at my resume because it was void of experience. And I get to the furthest store on the 2nd floor. It was literally the last store I went into. And with just as much enthusiasm, I walked right up and I said, "Are you the store manager?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "I wanna work here. I don't have a ton of experience in retail, but I have so much experience with myself, styling myself, and I'm really good at this. Will you give me an opportunity?" And she said, "Yes." She said, "I've never seen this much enthusiasm. I'm hiring you." And unbeknownst to me, it was a plus size clothing store, and I didn't know. And I'm this scrawny 16-year-old kid, and so I go in for my first shift, and these women are coming in, and I'm asking them how I can help them, and they're putting their hand up, not wanting my help.
mm.
And I was devastated, Dana. Like, I thought, "Oh my gosh, I thought I'd come here and I'd feel included." And I was denied. And I didn't know that other women were looking at me thinking, she's skinny. She doesn't know how to dress me." But these women were coming in, and this was 1993, like, where women were wearing, like, power suits,
Yeah.
and the fashion was really all to do with women inserting themselves into this man's world, and they were, like, executive women coming in, kind of operating in their masculine, right? So they were very forceful, and they seemed so confident. I was intimidated when they walked in. But I would see them gather all these clothes, go in the fitting room, and then I'd watch them in the mirror and peer in. I had only been looking at myself in the mirror all these years, and I watched them look in the mirror, and they would look at their bodies, and I could see their eyes kinda narrowing in on what they didn't love
Mhm.
and putting on clothes to cover it up.
Mm.
And I thought, "Oh my gosh, I just wanna help these women. I know how to dress them." And this one particular day, I had been there maybe a month, and on my way to work that day, I thought, "How I'm approaching this is not working. I have to pivot, and I
Mhm.
have to do something different because I don't wanna hear no all day. It's
Yeah.
exhausting."
Yeah.
And this woman came in, did the same thing when I asked her how I could help, put her hand up. And I watched her. She walked all around, gathered all these clothes, and went in the fitting room and came out and looked in the mirror and did the same thing I saw everybody else do. And she didn't look confident anymore when she looked in the mirror. And I thought, I know I can help her. And she left it all in the fitting room and went to leave the store. And I said, "Excuse me." And she turned around and I said, "My name is Jessica. What's your name?" And she said, "Kathy." And I said, "Kathy, I know you came here for a purpose, and this is like the furthest mall in the city, and you walked all the way to the corner to get here, and I know I can help you. What are you here for today?" And she had a business, meeting, a very important business meeting that was happening at the end of the week, and she came in. I said, "Okay, give me an opportunity." And she goes, "All right, let's do it." And I gathered the clothes that I knew were gonna be beautiful on her, put them in the fitting room, and she puts the first outfit on. It was like a blue, navy blue pull-on pants and this
Mhm.
navy blue shell, and she comes out, and I said, "No, wait, Kathy, don't look in the mirror." She goes, "I don't know about this." And I tucked her top into the pants, and she looks in the mirror and she goes, "I can't do this. Like this, it's terrible." And she's looking at her midsection.
Mhm.
And I took this long duster sweater and it kinda skimmed her body just like the pants and the top did, and put it on her, and from there, I proceeded to take a scarf. It had all the different colors in it, including that navy blue, and it cascaded down, her whole body, and I put a long necklace on her, put the shoes on, put a belt, and I moved my body and watched her look in the mirror, and I watched her eyes go from, like, the tip of the toes to the top of her head and narrow in with her eyes, and her eyes filled with tears, and she
Mhm.
turned towards me, Dana, and she said, "I have never in my life felt like this.
Wow.
I feel beautiful, and I didn't know this was possible." She said, "Kid, you got something. I don't know where you
I
came
love that.
from, but you
Yeah,
got."
you got some. Did you tell her where you came from, or did you just, like,
I don't
"Ah,
remember that part. I was just so happy.
I
It was
love this story. I love this story, and I know so many women that you dress, and I'm gonna say, "Kid, I don't know where you came from, but you got a gift. You got a gift." Yeah. I've never worked with a stylist, lots of hair and makeup teams when I travel, but
Yeah.
I always tend to pick my own clothes. Um,
It's
what yeah, I didn't even consider asking this, but now I'm gonna ask this. What would you
it
do with me? Most of the people listening to my show know that who I am and how I dress, but what would you do different? One thing. Let's just throw one thing out there. What would you
one thing.
Yeah.
Um, I wouldn't say I would really start by getting to know you better on a deeper
Mm.
level, Dana. I know we've kind of,
Yeah.
like,
Dan
gone in a little bit, and we've gone pretty deep, but I get
Yeah.
deeper. I would wanna do my four-step process with you, and
Mm.
the
Ooh,
first
what's a 4 step what's a 4-step process?
the first step is really a discovery. It's
Mm.
a discovery um, of what you really desire, like, not where you are now, but what if you were to close your eyes and really imagine where you wanted to be, like, what would be the ideal success for you? And get you to be describing to me what that would maybe look like or feel like, and maybe give me a moment in time where you see yourself somewhere and you're looking around, and maybe it's on a stage. Oftentimes, I'll guide them through a meditation, to do a visualization exercise where they get on a stage and they look out at the stage, and as they're speaking on the stage, they look at the people and they receive the impact. And then they
Mm.
get out of their body while they're still on the stage, and their soul sits in the front row and
Mm.
watches.
Oh, that's
And then I ask, "What do you look like on the stage?" And oftentimes women can't tell me. I think you could, because you
I
love
could.
fashion,
I
Dana.
do, I do, I
Uh,
do, I do. Yeah.
but once you can describe to me what it looks like, what it feels like, all the things, I literally close my eyes and imagine for you who this woman is, what
Mm.
she looks like, this next version, this up-leveled version, because I believe in expansion, and the women that I'm working with are open to expansion.
Right.
And then with that lens, we look into your wardrobe, take a little peek. Most women I'm working with virtually, unless they come to Sarasota to work with me. And we peek in and we extract the pieces that align with that woman that you're now becoming because you've seen her. And from there, we will gather. I have an inventory of clothing that I've curated for my clients of what I call cake and icing, and taking the pieces that are the cake, the core pieces that have beautiful fabrics that fit in a way that skims the body and highlights all the best parts of you. And from there, we would strategically add the icing. And
Mm.
you typically that core basic cake is very simple.
Mhm.
And then once we really discover that uniqueness, we want these pieces to highlight that uniqueness. Because what happens, Dana, is when you look in the mirror, I know now you can look at your body and you can see it and you can feel great in your clothes because you really show up.
Mhm.
But there's a refinement that can happen. And it's little tiny details, a high-rise jean, which I would love to get you in high-rise pants. You have this teeny tiny little waist, and you have a beautiful curvature to your hip that I would love to put the arrow right at that smallest little part of your waist so that when people are looking at you, their eyes are seeing you as a whole person, like how long and lean you are. And you can look in the mirror with see all the beauty and see how the beautiful fabrics and the fit of
Mhm.
these pieces can highlight these best parts of you so that you can do much like what Kathy did, where you're really narrowing in on your eyes and you're so connected to self already. But let's amplify it even further because once you see yourself as this whole beautiful picture, and never look at those pieces you don't love.
Right, like
You're
hips, like the one thing that you
I
see,
know,
that
I know,
curvy
that's
hip,
I
get on
know
the
I
edge.
told
Oh,
you.
yeah, yeah, I didn't know I told you, yeah. So it's
You
like, yeah,
didn't.
I love
That's why I'm
the
saying it.
and it is true, I have a very, very tiny waist, very
Yes.
hips, and I don't wear high-rise pants. So
I
I love
know,
this,
because we need to
I love it.
highlight this. So once you see it and you in all of your beauty,
Mhm.
you either step out for the day and what maybe you're going to speak on a stage or you sit down at your desk to have your Zoom calls for the day with your clients, get on a podcast, all the things, and your frequency is already high because you're also really tapped in, with all the signs, right, of what the universe is bringing to you.
Yeah.
But what happens is your frequency will rise even higher to a point of it is even more magnetic. And I know you're magnetic because I sat beside you at Brooke Hemingway's event, which was serendipitous and meant to
Yeah.
be.
Meant
But
to be.
literally, I could feel your energy. I was like, my whole body was buzzing from your energy. But there is a transcendence that can happen when your frequency rises even higher that will transform, and you're already transforming, but it will impact at a deeper level and influence more people through a screen.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would do with you. And
Oh,
then
I
I
love I
would
love that. I was absolutely entranced. And wait, do you think that women should change their fashion up from 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s? And now that I'm 60,
Yeah.
is there something that shifts? I mean, because I feel different. I don't let the age define me. I think I probably have more freedom now where I wouldn't have wore high-rise pants before. I will now, and I do have some jeans like that. In fact, I have on a little Sundance little vest and jacket linen today.
I see it, it's
And
beautiful.
yeah,
I'm wearing a linen,
yeah, look at us
jacket
in
today
our
too.
linens, and I always show up on Zoom dressed because this is where I live, and, it's just I'm never not gonna show up dressed, but, and a high rise, kind of a black Italian jean with a tassel and the little lace up sandals, but I did do that, but do you
Yeah.
think that we have more freedom as we get older, or do you think women care
Well,
less or care more on the average?
I think what it is, Dana, oftentimes when I begin working with a woman and she's like investing in herself in every area, like she has a coach, she's in masterminds, she's collaborating with other women, a very powerful woman, and she knows she needs to outsource the talent. However,
Mm.
what I often see is women are wearing their past self.
Mm.
And
Love that. I love that.
they there needs to be a constant reinvention because the woman that is continuously reinventing herself, her wardrobe needs to up level with every up level that she's
You just
having.
gave me permission to buy more,
Yes,
We just talked about the room behind me is a full closet, and is it
I
literally
love that. I love that. So I see these women wearing past, and what they're doing is, we as women, we have different seasons in life. And so we need to show up in our biggest power for those seasons. And so oftentimes women are like, they're struggling as they get older because they don't wanna look like they've tried too hard. The clothes that fit them well before don't fit them well anymore,
Yeah.
and so they don't know what to do, so what they end up doing is looking exterior, looking at other women on, Instagram or women that are in fashion and saying, "Is that my style?" And then clicking and buying. Women do this all the time at
Mhm.
night when they're, like, on their phone when they finally have a few minutes to themselves,
But
clicking and buying. I know you're laughing because I know you probably do this.
well, I go to some of my favorite sites, Wolf and Badger, I have they come up in my text, I save them at the end of the day, and I will look and see. I just bought a lime green suit that is it's beautiful. It's a three-piece. It's so
Mm,
gorgeous, but it's too heavy. It's way too heavy. I put it on and
mm.
and it's lime green. I'm like, as bold as this would be for a stage, it's just not right for me. And
Yeah.
it goes back to London, but it was yeah, you're right. And I did it at like 10:30 at night. I'm like, that is
Oh, I
love this. I love this. And I'm like, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? Yeah, and it was a
Well,
big
I know
purchase,
that
yeah.
you know good fabric, but a lot of women don't.
Yeah.
And so when they get these articles of clothing in the mail and they go to put them on and look in the mirror and they see that it doesn't look like how it did on the model, they begin to shame themselves anymore. And I believe the fashion world is really set up to shame women. And so
Oh, I do.
I'm cr- my business really is all about this movement of helping women to rise together and leveraging fashion and how they're physically showing up and embodying the woman that they're designed to be, not trying to embody someone else's who they're supposed to be.
I absolutely 1000% agree with that, and I believe fabric and we've talked about this, is everything.
Mhm.
I believe how it lays on my skin, if I'm not comfortable, if I'm not feeling beautiful, I don't care what the world thinks. I really do care what I think, though, and how I feel, and I think that it's so amazing when I see women in clothes that I know are uncomfortable. I know the fabric is scratchy. I won't
Yeah.
tolerate, I think about 5 years ago when those apps came out on Instagram, all those, I think from China,
Yeah.
um, and they were and I bought an outfit, and it took forever, and it got here, and it was in a plastic bag, and I'm like, "What is this that I ordered?" Because it did not look like what I ordered, and the fabric was like nylon, which I just don't put that on my body, and sparkle sequins, it was horrible. It was
Yeah.
horrible. I mean, I literally threw it away, and I thought, "This is where women are ordering and getting and trying to make it work," and it's like, "No." Yeah.
Well, oftentimes what I see is when the woman does that and she puts it on and she says to herself, well, I guess this is good as it's going to get." And she settles for this mediocrity in her life, but she doesn't accept mediocrity anywhere else. And so it's holding her back by what is she telling herself? Putting these articles of clothing on her body that are nylon, that are itchy, that and she doesn't feel good. What does that do for how you're showing up in the world, how you're showing up for clients even?
Right.
And, but what women are maybe not knowing is that there's something better. So really with how I am working with, all the entrepreneurial women, women in business that are like trying to up level, I'm really holding that space with them to imagine for them what
Mm.
they can't imagine for themselves. And it's so cool. It is like this lights me up so much. I'm sure you can feel my energy right now.
Oh, yeah, I can.
What lights me up more than anything is when that moment that they see it. I had a client, and she's actually part of a mastermind I'm in. She's also part of I have a mastermind as well. She's part of my mastermind, and she's also part of Amberly Lago's mastermind. And so this woman has invested in herself so much, and the last piece of it was she realized she needed me in her life to help her amplify all the learning that she's doing.
Mhm.
And I watched her on a Zoom call try on this fitted knit dress that she swore was going to be terrible on her. and she puts it on, and she's in her bathroom. She had her, computer set up on Zoom, and she had her big full-length mirror in front of
I
her.
know who this is, by the way. I know who this is.
You do?
I think we have the same name.
You have the same yes,
Yeah.
you
Well,
do,
hey,
it's
you're
so
talking to a psychic. I mean, let's face it.
Oh
But
my
what I did
god.
this time, I just went through the alphabet and I just went deep.
Oh my
Oh, I know who it is. Yeah. Yeah.
of course you do.
Yeah.
So, she looks in the mirror and she goes, "Oh my god." I mean, she was so loud that her husband said, "Are you okay?" And there he peeked his head.
Oh, I love that. I love
And so we actually captured it, and she said, "You can put this on social media because I want other women to know how beautiful that they can feel just like me right in this moment." And,
I love that. I
the
love that.
reason why so now that we're talking about this, she's more than happy to share this
Yeah.
because
She's beautiful.
she wants me to.
Great.
We're gonna be doing some work with, introducing her to the right people 'cause her message is just beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, but she recently got on stage
Yeah.
at Amberly Lago's event,
Yeah.
and she was magical, and she magnetized people in the room that are now reaching out to her, messaging her on Instagram, "I want you to speak at my event."
Wait a minute. You have no idea. Someone reached out to me thinking I was her because we have the same name, and I said, "You know what? I was supposed to be there, but I had a family emergency," and I said, "I know exactly who you want," and I said, "I'm giving you she is magical, wonderful. Do not stop here." I went and got her, because we're friends out there and on Instagram, and I screenshot it and sent it to them, and I said, "Now go find her," you know?
Dana, I literally have
Yeah.
full body chills right
Yeah.
now. This is incredible.
But it was
'Cause
crazy that 2 people reached out to me thinking I was her, and I'm like and I thought, I don't if only if I had that hair, and I mean,
oh my gosh.
but that's like, yeah, some hair. It was so great
Oh,
hair.
no, and
She's fabulous. Yeah,
she
she's
loves it.
great.
But she got on stage and, like, she told me, like, her message just came through her.
Yeah.
And she said there was no anxiety, she had no fear because she was fully embodying it in how she was showing up, and it takes as women, we have to invest in more than one thing because we have to take this holistic approach to really evolve ourselves from the inside out or outside in, whichever way you wanna look at it, and she did that. She was scared to invest, but
Yeah.
she did it because
Yeah.
she trusted that God had her back, like,
Yeah.
she had the knowing that she had this impact, she was ready to share it with the world,
Yeah.
and so that's what happens when someone connects to self. There's really 3 things, when they connect to the remembering of
Mm.
who they are, what they love, and what their gifts are. And it's like you kinda go back to what you love as a child,
Right.
and when you do this and you really discover, what it is, you can connect to what your gifts are, and from there, really, like I said, investing number 2 is investing in yourself, in the right people that are gonna truly see you and see that gift, not for what they think you should be doing with your branding and all the things, but really
All the things.
see you, give you the tools and their gifts.
Mhm.
And then the 3rd step is the embodiment.
Mm.
And I think we talked about this before the call. When a woman does these 3 things, Dana, they have the ability to collapse time.
Yeah. I love that. Explain more about that with fashion and collapsing time. Let's talk about
When someone begins, this process of discovery of fashion and how their body can look and how they can truly feel beautiful every day, um, they can then, as I kinda walk them through the process, I set up their outfits for them.
Mhm.
And, they have their own app with all their outfits for every day, for their travels, for how they're gonna show up on stage, how they're gonna show up in any room.
Well, that takes a lot
And
of anxiety. My worst of I'm a late packer, so
yeah.
this I love what you just said. I always procrastinate on packing. I will always do it the day before I leave, always. I have
Oh,
racks that I'll hang up, I'll pull out, I'll try things on
yeah.
and pack, and that's it. but it is so much anxiety for me, even though I have an enormous amount to pull from, an enormous amount of beautiful things to pull from,
Yeah.
and high fashion to pull from, but it is the most anxious part of my whole trip, is pulling those outfits together on my own.
I hear this all the time, but the other thing that's happening as I'm working with this woman and planning for her
Mhm.
is oftentimes a resistance comes up.
Mm.
They're looking in the mirror, they're feeling beautiful, their frequency is rising, they're walking in a room, and everybody is looking at them, walking up to them, and they were being seen before because these are women that are going on stages and doing
Mhm.
podcasts and all the things, but it's different. It's more of this magnetic thing that's happening, and I notice that a lot of emotion and resistance comes up for them, and that's part of my coaching,
Yeah,
is
of being seen
yeah,
differently, yeah.
being seen, like, truly being seen.
Yeah.
There's an intimidation in it because it's like, are they judging me? They're seeing me. Are they judging me? So this is why it's so important to be in the right rooms with the right people because there's not just when we're going through this process, there's not just a shedding of past clothes and past outfits. There's a shedding of relationships that are no longer serving you.
Oh, wow. That is profound. You also I think that when we grow into this skin and the clothes we put on our bodies, it does transform us. I mean, my clothes kind of feel like home to me. I
Yeah.
wear them if something's uncomfortable on me, I'm not having a great day. Something's tight and not comfortable in the fabric. I remember traveling and going into a shop and buying a new outfit and taking off an outfit and bagging it and saying, I'm never wearing that again. I bought it, it was beautiful, but it didn't lay on me. It didn't fit right. And I wasn't
Right.
comfortable and I didn't feel beautiful in it. I will make the shift very quickly. I won't sit in that.
I know. Well, you invest in yourself, and you've done so much internal work, Dana, that
Yeah.
you know what isn't working for you, and you release it and you let it go. But some women hang on,
Yeah.
and when they're hanging on and they're showing up in
And what
these
can we say to them? What can we say to the women that are listening right now? They know who they are. They're hanging on. They don't think they can afford this. It's not for me. It's not the season of my life. Yada yada yada. What do you have to say to them?
what I have to say to them is that if you, as a woman, if you're a woman of expansive thinking, of growth mindset, you're really not having growth mindset and you're not really walking the walk if you have these ideas about, you not investing in yourself when it comes to your clothing and how you're presenting yourself. And perhaps it's that you can't imagine what it would look like, or what it could do for you, this collapsing of time, if that's actually possible.
Mhm.
But when you invest in yourself, and there's a variety of ways that I work with people, and I do put a lot of free content out there. So and my podcast is going to be launching right away as well. So we're going to really dive into.
What's the name of that gonna be? Oh, I can't wait. But it's you're hearing it here first, people. You're hearing it here first.
You are hearing it here first.
Love
Living, living aligned, styled with purpose.
Ooh, living a line style with purpose. I love that. I don't know for anyone that's listening, if you have any kind of, I don't even think you need to have a love for fashion. I think that if someone has a love for fashion and a gift, like you said, give it over to the professionals. I think for me this year, I've traveled so much and that there was so much packing and unpacking and anxiety the night before. That's what I
Yeah.
homed in on. I homed in on the night before how I could take that anxiety out of it. And that was for me passing it on, saying, "You know what? I know what I love. I know what I don't love. I'm willing and I'm confident enough to give it to someone else and say, I'll try anything because I really just wanna feel good, and if someone has a gift, they're gonna know what that is." And you'll
I
know pretty
think
quickly if they don't.
I think first, and I have a power presence quiz, and we'll link it here,
Yes,
because
people, we will have everything in the comments, all her deets, everything. Yeah, where can they find you? Let's talk about the quiz. Where's your
yeah,
favorite, space to hang out in where they can connect? All the things. And what's coming up for
uh
you?
There's several different places, and I've recently added some things like a blog. I now have a blog. Everything that you could ever need or want to know from me is on my website. And it's full everything is now fully visible. The power presence quiz that I have out there, I've received so much incredible feedback from because there's basically 3 different places that I find these entrepreneurial women are, in their life, and, some are just starting out. They're curious. They're in the curious mode. They're beginning, like, the connecting to what they really want, and maybe there's a reinvention of their business. Maybe they're just starting a business. Perhaps they do have a little bit of resistance about spending money pouring into their business because they're just starting out.
Mm,
Um, and that woman typically is either needing my course, and
mm,
that's a great starting point. Needing
yes.
my course, and that really is how do you release? What do you release? What's no longer serving you? And really beginning to learn how to shop in a very purposeful way, so that you're actually you're investing in yourself with these pieces, but you're not wasting your money on pieces that are not going to work for you. So there's
Mm,
that. Then there's the woman that's in it. She's kind of in the process of building her personal brand. She wants to be visible. She's
mhm,
showing up online, maybe not as her best self, but she's scared, but she's doing it anyway.
mhm,
And she's in masterminds. She has, a coach, but she's kind of not quite there yet. We have a community of women. I have a mastermind myself where we're talking fashion, but we're also collaborating. A lot of like podcast trades are happening in that space. We have
mhm,
guest expert speakers that are coming in and pouring into these women. I'm doing live demonstrations and going in more depth into the different lessons that I have in my course, and really talking about, leveraging putting together this outfit with how does that then translate to success? So we do a lot of this integration,
mhm,
and then there's that woman, and typically she's the woman that she's going to do this with us for maybe 3 months, and then she's ready. So this is the third thing that you'll discover taking this power presence quiz. You're fully showing up online. You have your stand. You're getting on stages.
mhm,
You are collaborating with other women, you're going on podcasts, you're getting on TV shows, you're in the rooms, but there's one last piece, and you're ready to kind of blow the top off and step into the even bigger power and expand from like multi six figures to
mhm,
seven figures. Like you're like right there, but you're in this
right.
push mode, and you're ready to experience the pull, and the pull is a transcendence.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm working with women on. You can
Beautiful.
find me also on Instagram is where I play.
Yeah.
I love Instagram, and it's, at the Jessica Papineau. I am on LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook, and it's, CSJ Styling. I believe on, in LinkedIn, it's Jessica Papineau as well. I'm on YouTube, and I am on so many podcasts. So
Mhm.
I have that all linked up on my website because people
Love
love
this.
to listen to the podcasts I'm on and learn about other really great entrepreneurial women that you can
Mhm.
connect with. Because my circle, I only bring in amazing women to collaborate
Yeah.
with. And this season, this year actually, 2025 for me is about rising. It's about
Mm,
expansion and it's about rising. But more importantly, it's about rising together. So when you put yourself in my space, in my world, even if you're just following me on Instagram, you will begin to feel it because my frequency is so high that you will begin to feel what it feels like to be with the right women that
I love
want
that you
that.
claim that. I love that you didn't hide that. My frequency is so high that I vibrate at a level of attracting powerful, beautiful women, and I want you to come play on my playground. I love that. Jessica Papineau in the house, you are friggin' amazing. I adore you, your energy, your vibration, all of the above. Hey, last question.
Yeah.
What feels like love in your life right now?
What feels like
What feels like love in your life right now?
what feels like love in my life? Ah, get I it really is you're getting me to think here, Dana. It really is oh, I know what it is.
Mm.
It's seeing the impact. It's seeing the impact of what I'm of this frequency, of what I'm putting out there, of all the gifts that I'm giving other women, and I am giving. Like, I love to pour into other women when I go into rooms, and as you know, I just came back from, Unstoppable. You know what happened when I went there? And this is my love.
Yeah.
I walked in the room the night of the VIP dinner,
Right.
and
Denim and Diamonds.
Denim and Diamonds, yes. And I had a pouring of women that saw me walk in and lined up to hug me. Some of them even, like, cried, thanked me because I make so many introductions. I love getting other women together to do big things.
Well, you know what? I knew that the minute I sat down next to you, I, like, swung to my left, and I said, "Magic." And I think I might have said it out loud,
You did say it out loud.
Yeah.
You
I
said it out loud.
Yeah, and it was like I felt it. It was like, "Voom," magic, and, I just yeah, I knew we had to know each other, and we do. And now at a deeper level because you see my hips too. I love that you elongated them. You gave me a beautiful visual. Not many people can I have a strong sense of self in a visual. Leaned in and I adapted your visuals. It was a beautiful thing. I liked it. I liked it. And
We're
this is
Dana, I know that we are rising together,
yeah.
and we're gonna do something. Like,
Oh,
I
oh,
don't
it's in the works.
it's
People, you gotta
there. I'm
keep out for it. You gotta keep your eye out for it, and when you hear this podcast and then you see it happen, you'll say, "Wow, they talked about that, and now they're doing it." We're doers. We are doers, and the energy is already swirling for it. Now we're just allowing it to align.
Can I leave your listeners with one last thing
Yes, oh,
about
absolutely.
and it's gonna leave them a little bit curious, and they're gonna need to follow me to, like,
Okay.
really understand what it means, so it's a little teaser.
Okay.
I want to encourage you and invite you, all of you listeners and all of you that are watching, to begin as you're priming your days, because I know all your listeners prime their days. Like, they get up every morning, they do their journaling or they're praying, they're moving their body, doing their yoga, their Pilates, running, going for a walk, and then they're doing other things like jumping in a cold plunge. That's what I do. While you're priming your day, I want you to add one more step. And that is, instead of just getting up and going, doing your priming, the last step is, so get up, then you want to suit up, and then you want to show up.
Mm.
So get up, suit up, show up is what I want to leave your listeners with.
I love that, whether you're walking, working out, and I'm all into my cute walking clothes too, even
Yeah.
I'm picking them out now for September for the Camino, we'll have to talk about that. I'm walking the Camino, and I'm not walking it, I'm fashion walking it,
Yeah.
I'm all in.
I know you are. You're showing up ready in
Y
any space that you're in
Yeah.
because you never know where the opportunities are.
Nope, absolutely. You know what? I've always said that. I'm not a pajama wearer, and I know people go out to the airport and different places in pajamas. That's just not my thing. And but I was that woman in the '90s that was a power federal, working and traveling and wearing a lot of dress barn and then designer suits and when power suits were coming in a very masculine way. And when you talked about that, you threw me back to
Yeah, back
and
to the
I
90s.
oh yeah.
But I believe every woman should really consider, if it's a Monday morning, going in their closet and picking out their best dress.
Mm.
Even if they're not going to a wedding or they're not going on date night and don't save your clothes. Don't save your best clothes because the
I love that.
opportunities will just begin to open up for you. You just have to pay attention to them.
We're gonna have to have a part 2 because I'm telling you and you know what? Will you come back? I don't know if I've ever asked you, like, yeah, I'd like you to come back. I'd like to do a part 2. So people, if you're listening to this, there's gonna be a part 2 because I just wrote down, like, 10 new questions on saving clothes and wearing them, and the inspiration and synergy here, I think, is magical. And I think women I hope you listen to this whole story over and over again. I think I don't tend to listen all the way through to my own podcasts. I know. I just don't all the time. I'm here for it. Um, but I might listen to this. Yeah. And see what what lights me up. I loved it.
I listen to all the podcasts that I'm on
Really?
because I wanna refine my message, and I wanna give the most value to the listeners.
Now, if I'm on someone else's podcast, I will listen to that, but my own, um, not all of them do I listen all the way through. I mean, I'm here, but listening a second time, I go through the edits on what the basis of it is just to
Yeah.
make sure everything is correct, but yeah, I might wanna rethink that one. That's a good idea. I like that. I'm open to it all. So, Jessica Papineau, you are, like I said, magic. Thank you for being here. I love
Thank you
you.
so much for having me. I just adore you and I just
Yep.
love watching you.
Ditto. Ditto. Mutual. It's mutual love. All right, guys, everyone, thank you for joining us today on the Dana Grant Show. And I will have all of Jessica's deets, and we just can't wait to see you next time. Bye for now.